Hi everybody, this is Dr. Nigro with the Physics Fundamentals Screencast. This screencast is going to discuss Ohm's law, resistance within a circuit, and resistivity of materials. So we're going to start with Ohm's law. All right, so Ohm's law is a natural law, all right, that looks at the relationship among three variables: voltage, current, and resistance. All right. Now, a natural law is something that explains how something happens. So we tend to have a formula, and that is also the case here with Ohm's law. As part of determining what that formula is, we tend to do a lab where we look at the voltage and the current within a circuit when we put different resistors in place within that circuit. All right. What we find is that the relationship looks something like this when we plot it out. And that tells us that there is a linear relationship between these two variables. So we can define that with our formula for a straight line, y equals m times x plus b. And then if we look at our specific case here, we can swap out y and x for voltage for y, some slope value, that's a constant, and then current for x. The y-intercept here is going to be 0 because if you don't have any potential difference, then you can't have any current, all right? So this is the formula that really comes out of this experiment. Now that slope value, this is the resistance of the resistor that we have in place within that circuit. So that tells me that Ohm's law, whoops, hold on, messed that up a little bit. Ohm's law is the voltage within a circuit is equal to the resistance of that circuit times the current that is flowing. All right, so if we look, voltage and current and then voltage and resistance both have direct relationships. All right, as the resistance of the circuit goes up, we're going to need a higher potential difference to get current to flow. All right, as we increase the potential difference, we are going to get more current flowing. So that makes sense. All right, if we look instead at resistance and current, now that is an inverse relationship. All right, as the resistance of the circuit goes up, the flow, the rate at which the electrons can move around that circuit is going to drop, which makes sense because that's what resistance is. All right, so resistance, right, which we did not talk about earlier, we represent with a capital R in our formulas, and it's a measure of a circuit or a component within the circuit to resist electron flow. Okay, it's a physical property of materials. That's what resistivity is, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, but it can either be the entire circuit or it can focus on a component within that circuit. All right, so as I said, we use the letter R as the variable symbol within our formulas, and then it has its own unit, which will be a new one for us. It's called the ohm, and it's represented with this omega symbol. All right, so again, resistance, we've got units of ohms here. All right, if I wanted to calculate the resistance of a circuit or a component within it, then I would need to know the potential difference around that component or of that circuit, and then the current that is flowing through it. All right, as the resistance increases, then the amount of current that can get through it, or the rate at which it can get through, is going to be lower. So I tend to think about resistance like having a nice wide open highway, and then all of a sudden you have a little bottleneck. So as you get closer and closer to that bottleneck, the electrons can't flow as quickly through, so the current's going to drop because the resistance is going up. All right, now there are factors that influence resistance. All right, there are four that we tend to talk about. The first one is temperature. All right, this is going to be a direct influence. As the temperature increases, then the resistance of that material is also going to increase. All right. Second is the length of your wire. All right. As the length of your wire gets longer, as the wire gets longer, then you're going to see that resistance go up as well. It's almost like the electrons get tired. All right. As they get further and further along that wire, they don't have as much energy. It bleeds off as they're moving down that wire. And so because of that, the rate at which they can move drop. All right. Third is going to be the diameter of that wire. All right. Now, as the diameter increases, we actually see a decrease in the resistance. So that's an indirect relationship, which kind of makes sense. If you think about the diameter of a wire as kind of the diameter of a pipe, all right, if water's flowing through a pipe, if you have a large diameter pipe, you're going to get a much better flow through that pipe. Whereas if you have a tiny pipe, it's not going to flow nearly as quickly. So that's the same idea here. All right. And then the last one is the matter itself, which we call the resistivity. All right. We're going to talk about that separately in just a second. All right. And this is also going to be a direct relationship. All right. The higher something's resistivity is, the higher the resistance of that component or wire is going to be. All right. So let's focus a little bit more. Oh, I spelled that wrong. I always spell resistivity wrong a couple times. There's a whole lot of R's and S's. All right, now we represent this with a rho symbol. It looks like a italicized lowercase p. All right, and resistivity is a physical property of matter. All right, and it is a measure of ease of flow is not right because it's resistant. Measure of matter. Ooh, I'm going to run out of matters. Resistance to electron flow. All right. It also can be used to separate our conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. Objects that are insulators are going to have very high resistivity values because they really don't want electrons to move from atom to atom. Whereas our conductors, our metals, are going to have low resistivity values, which tells us they actually don't mind the movement of electrons within there from atom to atom. All right, we can calculate resistance if we know a couple things. If we know the resistivity and the length of the wire, and then the area of that particular wire. So you can see our relationships that we were discussing just a minute ago are all here. All right. If you look at resistivity, or resistance, and length, you can see that that is going to be a direct relationship. If you look at resistance and area, this is where our diameter piece comes in, you can see that that is an indirect relationship. And then if you look at resistance and the resistivity, that is also going to be direct. All right, so this formula will allow us to calculate resistance. All right, we could also use it to determine resistivity if we had a new alloy or some sort of new material that we were using to build a wire, or we could find the length, or we could find the area or the diameter of that particular wire. All right, so it's very useful. Now, the resistivity values for a lot are known. These have been measured, kind of like density, melting points, boiling points. It's a physical property, so it's been measured for many, many, many materials, and you can find tables of this information online. All right. All right, so we're going to try a couple problems. The first several are going to be Ohm's law problems, and then we'll do two that look at resistance and resistivity. All right, so similar to our earlier work, I strongly suggest that you have some sort of variable list with these problems. All right, so let's start by looking at what we have. Dinah's oven uses a 220 volt line and draws 8 amps of current when heated to its maximum temperature. What is the oven's resistance when fully heated? All right, so I have a voltage of 220 volts. I have a current value of 8 amps, and I'm asked to find the resistance. All right, so as soon as I see voltage, current, and resistance, I think Ohm's law. So that voltage is equal to the current times the resistance. So I plug in 220 volts equal to 8 amps times our resistance value. So the resistance of that wire is going to be equal to 27.5 ohms. All right, remember omega is standing in for our unit symbol here. All right, so that's how we determine the resistance. Obviously, we could have used that formula. If we've given resistance and current, we can find voltage. If we know voltage and resistance, we can find current. All right, let's try another one. When plugged into a 120 volt outlet, 50 coulombs of charge flows through a light bulb in 2 minutes. What is the light bulb's resistance? All right, so we have a voltage of 120 volts. We have a charge of 50 coulombs, and we've got a time of 2 minutes. All right, now I know I'm going to need seconds, so I just multiply that by 60. I'm going to have 120 seconds. And we're asked to find the resistance. All right, now, if I look at my formula list, I don't have one that relates these three variables and resistance. All right, so this is going to be a two-step problem. The first thing I'm going to have to do is find out what the current is. All right, so if I look, I do know charge and time, and I know that current is equal to charge divided by time. So 50 coulombs of charge divided by 120 seconds tells me that my current is 0.42 amps. All right, now I know current and voltage, and I can use Ohm's law to find my resistance value. So my second part will be to find resistance. All right, so voltage is current times resistance. So I have 120 volts this time, 0.42 amps, and then I unknown resistance. So I plug that in, and I find that this oven has this light bulb has a resistance of 288 ohms. All right, let's try one more. A 80 ohm toaster is plugged into a 120 volt outlet. How much charge passes through the toaster in 3 minutes while making your toast? All right, so this time I have a resistance of 80 ohms. I have a voltage of 120 volts. I have a time of 3 minutes, all right, which multiplied by 60 is 180 seconds. And I'm asked to find charge. All right, so this is going to be kind of backwards from what we just did. All right, I have T and I'm looking for Q. So my best bet is to find current. And then with current, find Q. All right, so I'm going to start by finding current again, but I'm going to use Ohm's law this time. So voltage is resistance times the current. All right, so 120 volts equals 80 ohms times my unknown current, divide both sides by 80. The current here is going to be 1.5 amps. All right, now I can take that current value along with the time and I can calculate Q. So the second part will be to find Q. All right, so current is equal to Q divided by time. So 1.5 amps is equal to Q divided by 180 seconds. So the charge here is going to be 270 coulombs. Okay, now obviously there's a whole lot of mixing and matching we can do here. Maybe instead the problem asks you to find the number of electrons. All right, so then you could take Q and E and figure out what N is. All right, there's a whole bunch of problems that we can put together asking about these variables because we have a lot of variables and they're all very intertwined with one another. All right, so now let's try a problem that uses our resistivity formula. All right, when passing through a resistor, 4 coulombs of charge lose 8 joules of energy in 10 seconds. What is the resistance? Oops, I lied. This is another Ohm's law problem. All right, we'll do this one first. All right, so 4 coulombs, that's charge. All right, we've got 8 joules of energy. So that's our electrical potential energy, 8 joules, and we have a time of 10 seconds. And the question wants to know, what is the resistance? All right, so let's see, what can I do with what I have? I don't have a formula with potential energy over time, all right, but I do have a formula with potential energy and charge. I can use that to find the voltage. So I'm going to find that voltage first. All right, so I know that voltage is the potential energy over charge. So, 8 joules divided by 4 coulombs. So I have 2 volts in terms of the potential difference. All right. Now, if I'm going to use Ohm's law to find resistance, I also need the current. All right. So my second step will be to find the current. All right. I'm going to use current is equal to Q divided by time. So charge divided by time. So 4 coulombs divided by 10 seconds. So my current is 0.4 amps. All right, so now I know voltage, I know current, so I can use Ohm's law to find that resistance. All right, so voltage is equal to resistance times current. I have 2 volts equal to 0.4 amps times my resistance value. So my resistance here in this particular resistor is going to be around 5 ohms. Okay? All right, so now this next one I promise is a resistivity problem. Sorry about that. All right, a 1.1 meter copper wire has a diameter of 0.15 centimeters. What is the resistance in the wire? The resistivity of copper is 1.742 times 10 to the negative 8 ohms meters. All right, so again, I'm going to list out what I have. All right, I have a length of 1.1 meters. I have a diameter of 0.15 centimeters. Oh, we need to be careful. All right, so that's the same as 0.0015 meters. All right, and I know the resistivity of copper is 1.742 times 10 to the negative 8th, and that's ohms times meters. And I'm asked to find the the resistance. All right, so for my formula, resistance is the resistivity times the length divided by the area of my wire. Now, the area, remember, this is a circle, so the area is going to be pi r squared. All right, so in this case, pi times r. So I have a diameter of 0.15, so the radius is going to be half of that, so 0.00075 meters squared. All right, so that's going to go in for my area. So I come back over to my formula. The resistivity, 1.742 times 10 to the negative 8th ohms times meters, times 1.1 meters for my length, divided by pi times 0.00075 meters squared. All right, now if we look at the units, right, I've got a meter times a meter up top, so that's meter squared on the bottom. That's going to cancel, and I'm going to be left with units of ohms, which would be the correct unit for resistance. All right, once I plug everything in, I got 0.011 ohms for my resistance here. Okay, all right, let's try one more. All right, an aluminum wire, so 0.75 meters of an aluminum wire has a diameter of 0.1 centimeters and a resistance of 0.025 ohms. What is the resistivity of aluminum? All right, so we've got a length of 0.75 meters, a diameter of 0.10 centimeters, and again, there's that centi. All right, so that's 0.001 meters. All right, and this time we're given resistance as 0.025 ohms, and we're asked to find the resistivity. All right, so again, our formula, resistance is the resistivity times the length divided by the area. All right, and as we said before, the area is pi r squared. All right, and in this case, the radius is half the diameter, so 0.0005 meters, and we'll square that. All right, so that's going to give us the area. So I got back over to my formula. I plug in what I know, 0.025 ohms for the resistance. My resistivity is unknown. I have 0.75 meters for my length, and then I've got pi times 0.0005 meters squared. All right, I do some algebraic manipulation, solve for rho, and I find that the resistivity of aluminum is 2.62 times 10 to the negative 8 ohm meters. All right, and if I go looked online, that's going to be very close. So this is a pretty good approximation. All right, now you'll note that this resistivity value is a little bit higher than copper. All right, so copper is a better conductor than aluminum. Okay, so that's just an overview of Ohm's law, a little bit of a discussion about what resistance is and the factors that can influence it, and then what resistivity is, the physical property of matter that talks about the resistance to flow within that matter.